Good morning, everybody. Welcome back from a long weekend. We had a little bit of action over the holiday and the weekend here. Obviously gapping down quite a bit, putting in a bit of a push down from that holiday as well. Now with TradingView, if you guys are looking at the profiles on TradingView, when you have like a half day, like a holiday, it combines that with the current day. So the profile is a little bit wider than it should be just for today. But I don't really think that's a big problem right now because it's pretty much the same pattern. It would be a capital B or a lowercase b, either way. If you're not including the gap, you could look at it as a capital B. If you are including the gap, it creates that long upper tail, so it's kind of a lower B. Which both in this case are just kind of bearish anyway. Basically, as long as we can protect that gap around like 35 or the upper node around like 900, it's still pretty bearish. Now our lower targets were around 75 and what was that? 77. This number should be a little bit higher. Oh no, that's good. Okay. I was looking at 877. Okay, so for our lower numbers, 875 and 853, those targets have been hit. So we will have to lower that a little bit more here. So let's see. This one's kind of hard because we created such a wide value range here. We could use the overnight low and say holding below that, which is around that 45 area. And that would go down to 19 and then 75. But then our holding above level is pretty hard because the main level is still that gap level around 35. But that's 60 points away, so we would need a level that's kind of closer than that. So you'd probably want to say the upper node here. So the upper node POC is around like 902. So I'd probably say around 902. And then we can use the gap as our target, so 35 and then 72. But yeah, the overall idea is still the same. If you read the trade plan last night, you have that bearish imbalance from the gap down. So realistically, as long as that gap is protected... sorry, did I leave the music on? Let me turn that off. As long as that gap is protected, it's still going to be bearish. But in the short term, it could bounce back to that gap, and that's a pretty big move. So just keep an eye on that. Okay, looking at NASDAQ, it's the same story. Our lower targets are already being hit, so we do have to update these levels just a little bit here. So I would say the upper node, let's say around 432, is the upper level. And then the overnight low would be the lower level, which is around 95. And then our extended targets would be, let's say 25,000 even, nice whole number. And then around, let's say 900. And then upper targets are obvious. They are around the gap fill. So 640 to 680. But same idea, we have that lowercase b if you include the gap. The short term, you have a lot of room to bounce back, but it's still bearish. So even if you bounce back into that gap, if it rejects that gap, it's just going to keep going down. Keep an eye on this VWAP here right out of the gate. That's around 75 and basically exactly where you are on NASDAQ here. Holding below 845. Did I put the wrong number? Did I put 945? Oh, yeah, I did. Sorry. Yeah, it's 845. Okay, so far not liking VWAP too much. A lot of sellers coming in on that VWAP. Oh, by the way, for the recap video, I'm going to try to get it on a set schedule. So instead of releasing it last week on like a Friday, I'm going to try to start making those on a schedule again. I'm thinking like Tuesdays and Thursdays. So possibly one today and then one on Thursday. And we'll try to do those like twice a week, as long as there's obviously stuff to cover. As long as the week has some pretty good setups and whatnot. Yeah, we're gonna try going back to like a normal schedule for those. So possibly one coming out today, maybe around like 5:30ish. And then same thing on Thursday, probably around like 5 to 6 o'clock on Thursday as well. I hate releasing videos on like weekends because the algorithm doesn't like my weekend videos because I never release on weekends. So a lot of people don't look for my content on weekends. Yeah, we're going to try minimum one a week. If the week was very active and there's a lot to cover, then we'll do two a week. So we'll do like Tuesday, Thursday. So it's probably going to be Tuesdays like guaranteed. And then Thursday will be if like there's more to cover. A lot of delta coming in on NASDAQ. Very clean delta trend on NQ. Good morning, everybody. Wanatachi, Patriot, Roger, Scott. Let me pin the trade plan for you guys. There you go. What do we have left? We've got this week and then one more week, right? Let me see. Yeah, okay. I was going to start saying send me your receipts for the January raffle for Apex, but we still have next week. So I'll remind you guys next week to send those over. And if you guys are new here, we'll talk about that in a little bit when the market slows down. I'll remind you guys about all that raffle stuff. But for you guys that have been here for a while, we're going back to our raffles that we were doing last year. So we're doing those raffles the same way we did at the end of every month. We took like a 1 or 2 month break on those because of the big giveaway that we were doing for the laptop for that series. A lot of buyers getting stuck up here. A lot of buyers above VWAP not really liking that node. They're not allowing that node to rotate anymore. They are losing that upper node at 81. Good morning, Trevor, Adriana, Morris, Brian, Orion, Jose, JC, Marcel, Nitro, Titus, Igor, Larry. Good morning, Angelo, Ram, Roman, Lubomir, Constantine, Greg, Peter. I can't believe YouTube hasn't gone back to like the normal usernames. It's so strange they would switch to like the actual like account name. Makes no sense to me. Good morning, Peter, Boz, Scott, Ordinary, Joe, Ike, Darius, Mr. B, Gary. Good morning, Ronaldo. Flory, eBay, Vanquish, Future. Bouncing off VWAP here. Good morning, Future, English. Phonin, Tom, Joan, Lucio, Trades, Ken. Good morning, Boat. Good morning, AT. Welcome back, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed your long weekend, your time off. Back to business as usual. Not a whole lot on the calendar for today. We do have the World Economic Forum. We do have a possible Supreme Court ruling on the tariffs. Tomorrow we have more of the Economic Forum. President Trump is speaking, pending home sales, a couple of small data points. Thursday we have GDP, PCE, very big day on Thursday. Also some small data coming out as well. And on Friday, Economic Forum and PMI data, as well as consumer sentiment and inflation numbers. So pretty active week, just not today. Today is pretty slow. Yeah, ordinary. So the gap down is mostly from the tariff stuff that's going on. If you guys are not familiar with the headlines, there's a lot of like Greenland, Trump, EU, Denmark. They're all kind of fighting about the whole Greenland thing. So there's a lot of tariff talks going on. So the bots are just using that word tariff as a bearish word, like always. Whenever there's a headline that says the word tariff, it's just bearish. That's just how the market responds. The carry trade thing is also a possibility, but the problem with that is I've been looking at that a lot recently over the last year or so for the current carry trade. It's not as crazy as the one that we had a couple of years ago. There's not as much money, supposedly, invested in the US market from the Japanese yen carry trade because they got spooked very heavily whenever that was a couple of years ago. And then you had a massive shift, one of the largest shifts in politics in Japan you've seen in a while. So they're shifting pretty heavily. They're changing up their monetary policy. Big sell-off on this upper node, like I said earlier. The buyers do not like that upper node. They are not allowing it to rotate. They are just selling it. But yeah, there's always a threat with the yen carry trade. If you guys don't know what that is, in the most basic form, it's a very advanced thing, so I'm not going to explain the whole thing. Just look up Japanese yen carry trade. But it's been a thing for many years that Japan keeps extremely low interest rates, lower than pretty much the rest of the world. So what people do is they basically borrow yen at a very low interest rate. They turn it into capital for investing in the US market or even other markets, European markets, whatever. Um, but it's been a big thing in the US market with like the tech companies and yada yada, treasuries, all that stuff. So when the interest rates change dramatically, either on the US side or on the Japanese side, that destroys the trade. It scares people out of that trade, so they have to basically start pulling their money out of their investments and turning it back into yen and giving it back to whatever they took, like whatever they were lended. They got to start paying more interest, etc., etc. There was a really big drop in the market. I can't remember exactly when, but it was like 2 to 3 years ago. The yen carry trade was massive. There was a very large. I'm trying to explain this in a simple way, but it's a really advanced concept. It was basically free money. Like if you had a lot of money, like if you're a fucking billionaire, excuse my language, if you're a billionaire, it's free money. But then they started changing their rates unexpected, and it started killing the trade, and the market dropped like a rock. I think we lost like 5% in a week or something like that. It was something crazy. But yeah, like I said, I'm butchering this. It's a very advanced concept. So just look up Japanese yen carry trade if you care about that. TLDR, it's not that big of a deal from what I've heard right now. But you might want to keep an eye on the Japanese market. If their bond yields keep skyrocketing, that is a problem. Yeah, sorry about that. I try not to cuss on stream anymore. Try to keep it professional. Look at the delta coming in here. Massive delta flowing in on ES, but most of it's being absorbed. It is allowing it to push up, but for that amount of delta, we should be seeing an upper tail extension. We're not quite seeing that just yet. Good morning, Chuck. Good morning, Faraj. Good morning, Mark. Or sorry, Max. Good morning, DMG. Hard to not push up with that much delta. A lot of delta flooding in here. Today is an extremely obvious trade plan. When you have a big gap down, that's basically what you're watching. So if you fail the gap, you just go back down. If you stay above that gap and you start building a ton of value, then you're going to fill that gap in, right? Yeah, gaps make the trade plan pretty simple. Everybody's paying attention to it. And this is a pretty large gap that can be seen on the daily as well, and daily gaps are almost always filled in. Looks like it's about the same size on all the assets, nothing crazy. Boz, I have a ton of videos for free on my channel. You don't have to pay anything for them. So you can watch my order flow playlist. You can also watch my order flow video, which is the final video in the Apex series. It's not technically the final video in the playlist because of the Q&As, but it's the 5th video in that 5-part series. But yeah, I have numerous videos on my channel for free. Pretty much, I mean, most concepts that people are charging you guys $4,000 or $5,000 for, I probably have free videos for. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to teach it better than they can teach it. I don't know how their courses work, but I know for sure it's going to save you $4,000 to $5,000. So you can take a look at my free content. I have one of the largest free catalogs of trading content on the internet. I've been doing this for nearly 10 years, making content. You could also just go back and like watch my live streams and just watch the order flow. All my live streams are not listed on YouTube, but you can still find them. Just go to my Twitter, or if you're in Discord, go to my live streaming channel. I don't delete live streams, so there's live streams going back years, and they're always like 2 to 3 hours long because I stream in the morning, and you could just play them at like 2x speed or whatever. And you can just go back and get a ton of screen time by just watching my live streams and seeing how the orders are coming in. It's basically you're doing replay, right? Apex, or sorry, not Apex, Addis, Ninja Trader, all these platforms, they have replay functions. You could literally just do that with my live stream as well. And that's a way that you can kind of speed up your screen time. You could watch the current day, like today, you learn from today, and then you do your homework on another day. Pick another day in my catalog, watch that day as well. So you're learning twice as fast. Good morning, Ike. Good morning, Sam. So like I said, with this much delta, they should be easily pushing up. So they're not fully being absorbed. They are allowing them to go up every now and then. But there's definitely some absorption here, because that should be an easy tail extension, and it's not. Not really seeing a lot of bearish delta coming in. But notice how the price is not very sticky. It's pushing through these levels pretty quickly. So that means that there's not a ton of limit trading going on right now. And especially not a lot of limit trading on the buy side, because you would be seeing more bearish delta. So there's a decent amount of limit trading on the sell side. But definitely not on the buy side. The buy side is more aggressive. Yeah, it's exactly the last time that we had this possible Supreme Court decision. The market makers are extremely thin because they do not want to provide liquidity when there's a looming headline. And there's not an exact time on that. The Supreme Court kind of just does whatever the hell they want. There's not like a deadline of like they need to say it at this exact time. You can see the lack of limit trading, the lack of liquidity because of all these blue orders coming in, the level 2 orders. And also just by the sheer speed of the tape. We're moving around so quickly right now. Yeah, exactly, Sean. So because of the holiday, it doesn't properly factor in the closing. It didn't technically close that day. Which is insane to me that they haven't figured that out yet, but it's been the same way for years. Really sloppy price action. It's definitely clear just looking at the 1 minute that you really want to be trading on the extremes if you are trading at all. Trading on the highs and lows of these nodes, not anything in between. The range is extremely wide. Which is very typical for a balance like this. You want to trade the extremes. But if you're not a volume profile person, you can see that on a candlestick chart as well. It really depends if I count the holiday or not. The reason I count it this time is because it's not changing our structure at all. So if you count this holiday here and you just include it like TradingView does, the structure remains pretty much exactly the same. The only difference is it becomes a little bit more of a capital B than a D shape. But neither one of those really matter because realistically, we're just a lowercase b if you include the gap down. So using the holiday this time around doesn't change anything. But sometimes using the holiday will massively change your profile. So you have to be careful with that. Yeah, it feels like we need a massive move or we're getting a massive move because of the lack of market making liquidity right now. They're just letting it move so quickly. Did they even give like a remote time? Like a maybe time that they're going to release that information? Because I don't see any headlines on that. What time was it last time? I think it was around like lunchtime, right? It was around like 12 to 1, I think it was. They said at the top of the hour, gotcha, okay. So anytime in the next like 30 minutes or so. It was around 10:30 last time, gotcha. That's right, because we did cover it on the morning stream, so it would have had to been pretty early. So basically, guys, we're just playing the waiting game until this headline comes out. What headline is coming out? The possible tariff headline, where they're blocking or allowing the tariffs. Or they could just be postponing it, and like they did last time, where they're not making a decision. Which effectively is making a short-term decision that they are allowed. So it's either allowing Trump to continue what he's doing with the tariffs or not allowing him, or basically saying that they're just not going to rule on it. Now, if they say that they're not allowed, it should be very bullish, especially today, because the reason we're going down here, this is a tariff headline. So this is like him battling with the EU and Denmark, Greenland, all that, with the tariff stuff. So if they say that the tariffs are in some way, it doesn't have to be like fully, but just some way not allowed, we should start retracing that gap pretty easily. But that would be the obvious thing, right? The market's never super obvious. So we'll keep an eye out for it. We'll see if it wants to play like that. It's never as easy as you think. Here's a decent headline. Secretary Besson said that Trump could have his Federal Reserve chair as soon as next week. He could be naming who it will be. That headline should be short-term volatility when he does announce who he's going to be adding. But it shouldn't be too bad. Pretty big move there. I don't see a headline just yet. Could just be from the block trade. This is about the time they should be releasing some type of announcement, so just be careful. Just kind of playing the waiting game. Seeing if something does want to come out. So as you're waiting, this is a perfect example of why the market does this. You see the perfect bell curve, right? That perfect D-shaped profile. It's because the market doesn't have a bias. They're just waiting on that headline, waiting on that news to create that bias. So you're just looking for those rotations as you're waiting. And we'll start seeing it start to crack. It will start staying below value or above value. It's definitely speeding up. When is the news coming out? Nobody knows. That's the problem. Yep, that is correct. They once again have not ruled. So unfortunately, that was the worst form of the headline. Because they're not making a decision, obviously. So we could say it's just going to go back to what it wanted to do originally, which what we were already bearish, right? So we had that lowercase b. They were protecting the value high. They were protecting the overnight high. They were protecting the gap, whatever you want to call it. So with no decision, go back to normal, and normal was bearish. We'll see if they stay below this value low at 72 to 75. Still not seeing a ton of bearish delta here. It could be a lack of limit buyers. There's not a lot of liquidity for them to sell into. You're still seeing a lot of limit sellers. You can definitely tell on the delta. I don't remember what day it was, but we had a day last week where you had that delta just flowing into the buy side the entire time. But it was actually bearish because you had all those limit sellers just pushing you down over and over and over. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. A lot of bullish delta coming in, but those limit sellers are just too strong. Good morning, Sam. Yeah, no Supreme Court decision today. They did the same thing they did last time. They're just pushing it back, which is fairly common in the Supreme Court, unfortunately. Next ruling is February 20th. Gotcha. Trying to bounce back into value back where that VWAP is as well. So far, not liking it too much. Still protecting that bearishly. Morning, Tom. No, I don't think the last couple weeks have been too bad. You've had a lot of like really clean setups, mostly VWAP related. You've had really good reactions on the volume profile levels. The last couple of weeks we saw multiple instances of like hitting levels to the tick. Yeah, the short-term price action has been pretty sloppy recently, mostly because the liquidity's been pretty bad. But the bigger picture, like the 30-minute, the trade plans, the volume profile level, stuff like that, it's been pretty clean. A lot of buyers stepping in here, finishing this rotation very quickly. This seems like it's headline related. I don't see a headline just yet, though. You can definitely see the lack of volume here. The sellers are allowing this to go up. They are not fighting this. Yeah, it could be from the forum. The forum's going on the next couple of days. Still not seeing any headlines to tie to that move. Yeah, still not seeing a direct headline for that move. Kind of weird. But definitely the sellers are allowing it to go up. The volume is very, very weak. The sellers got spooked on something. Let's go ahead and raise our scale today. Moving around a little too fast. So possibly this headline from NVIDIA. Let's see here. Hard to say. It's not exactly a headline. It's just another company complaining that NVIDIA shouldn't be allowed to sell their advanced chips to China because it poses a security threat. So probably not the headline we're looking for. Finally building a little bit of a node here at 94. We'll see if they can stay above that. Starting to slowly push towards that gap fill. Got a long way to go. Value high is somewhere around this area, around 900, but because of that holiday, it's a little bit off. And then keep an eye on that overnight high around 16 if it does try to break balance here. The heat map looks ugly. Yeah, it's a pretty red day for sure. Intel at $50. Wow. Doing really good. AMD pushing up. SanDisk, that company that we were talking about, or SanDisk, whatever it is. We were talking about that last couple weeks, whenever it was. That's that RAM and memory company. Absolutely exploding. Oh, that's massive old news, Brian. That's last week's news. Yeah, starting to get some earnings coming up. Could have some big earnings the next few weeks. Yeah, it seems like if I had to guess, the sellers have just turned off their never-ending limit selling because of the Supreme Court decision, so it's a lot easier to go back up now. Well, that's the problem with news, Brian. You have a lot of people who post the headlines as they come out. Then you have the slow people who post the headline to like reiterate it, which is like later that day or maybe the next day. Then you have like the people that are just really far behind and they post it like 2 or 3 days late. And you really got to build your timeline of build your news feed with people that don't constantly repost the same shit over and over again. Like you're seeing that headline because somebody's just reiterating why we're down, but the market's already down from what's going on with the European tariffs. That's the whole reason we gapped down and we started getting very bearish. That's not a headline that's affecting the market right this second. I try to get rid of those people from the news feed if they're just reiterating old news. This definitely just seems like a lack of selling. We were seeing a lot of limit selling the entire morning until the Supreme Court decision, and all those limit sellers just pulled their offers and now they're letting it go up. It's like I said earlier, we were kind of seeing a little bit of absorption because that delta was flying, but it wasn't going up. And it was because those limit sellers were holding them down. So now we're still seeing a decent amount of delta, not as much. But a decent amount is all you need because now you don't have that sell side. Coming up on that overnight low around 16. Staying above that ADMA pretty much the entire push here. Pretty aggressive. You have a good one, Sam. Yeah, liquidity is very low today. It's getting better. It's getting better after the Supreme Court headline. People feel a little bit safer, but it's definitely pretty low. Starting to lose the ADMA here. Watch that 24, that passive average. Buyers getting a little bit weak towards that overnight high. This is also where the value high should be, somewhere in this general area. Bulldog on the 5 minute, kind of. It had to pull back and like put the head in. Limit sellers are back. They're definitely fighting more. Yeah, you can see when they're building up the nodes, they kind of like that 900 area to sell. Sellers are really pushing this upper node here, turning into a little bit of a sweep if they stay below that 97, trying to lose that 24 as well. Keep an eye on this pullback to VWAP. If they stay above VWAP, it doesn't look too bad. Possibly still trying to break balance, but it could be rotating back down. Rotating back down to 70, which is pretty far below VWAP. So VWAP's kind of the halfway point. So obviously you would have to decide if you're trading the rotation before you see how it reacts to VWAP. VWAP would be like the halfway target. But we'll see if it fails to rotate, if it does make it back to VWAP. Yeah, it's a little bit of a rollover, definitely losing some steam here. Morning, Mauser. In that lower rotation for now, if they can stay below 900. Still pushing down in that rotation here. Like I said, keep an eye on VWAP. And just a little bit above VWAP. They could front run it based on these prior highs. Because you have like the high right there, you have the high right there. So basically just this general area. Are those buyers going to come back in? Here's VWAP on NQ, by the way. If Delta goes negative here, it would be massively bearish because the market sellers would be coming in a lot. You could say there's more limit buyers, but it depends on what price is doing. If price is like stuck on a level and the delta's ramping downward, then those buyers are trying to hold that level up. But if delta goes negative here, you would lose 10,000 delta up here. That'd be extremely, extremely bearish. Yeah, it can be VWAP. VWAP's always a very good target. So basically now, you could target now, or you could go for the full rotation back down to like the 70s, like 70, 72. Good morning, Madeira. No, I don't like draw out the opening levels or anything like that. I do keep an eye on like the candles, like the 30-minute candles and whatnot. Like the top of the A session, B session, whatever. But I don't have like an exact, oh, here's the 15-minute range high, 15-minute range low. I don't really care about stuff like that. We didn't hit VWAP on ES. It's front running it a little bit. We did hit VWAP on NASDAQ. But this is that level that I talked about earlier about not being exactly on VWAP. It's actually responding to the market. It's responding to these highs. So this is what you could argue as a bulldog because you have that pullback now, and it's protecting those prior highs. So it's front-running VWAP a little bit. Yeah, if you're looking at TradingView, you have the holiday VWAP. Seller's still not too strong on the low of this 30-minute candle. They do need to get a bit stronger below like 92 if it wants to continue. They are putting in a lower high here, which is not great for that bounce. Looks like the market is kind of dying now that the headline's over. Like the big reason for today was that Supreme Court headline. A lot of volume traded before then. Not a ton of volume afterwards. You had a big spike right after the headline was done. Now it's starting to come down a bit. The liquidity is getting slightly better, but not much better. You can see there's a lot of level 2 orders coming in. So still, people are definitely scared to trade. They don't feel too comfortable right now. They are still protecting those prior highs, those 2 prior highs from the morning, right on the open, and then right before the open. You can see a couple of attempts to push down into that VWAP below those highs. It is being bought up pretty much immediately. Look at the volume fall off here. Like as you approach that 30-minute low there, if it was very one directional, you should obviously be seeing a lot more action on that 30-minute low on the sell side. You're not really seeing that. So sellers are pretty weak here. Buyers really do not want to keep seeing lower highs. They need to stay above this lower high here at 900. That is also where the full session value high, it's around that area. They need to stay above 900 here. NASDAQ kind of leading today. A little bit stronger. At this point, it's obvious that you could say this is a failure to rotate because you tried to go down, bounced off VWAP. It looked like it was still going to go down. You put in a lower high, but then you put in another low. So now you definitely could say it's a failure to rotate. Bit more obvious on NASDAQ. You bounced right off of VWAP, put in a higher low, higher high. You kind of fought it a little bit more on ES, but very obvious on NQ. Hey, Destiny, good morning. Just have a couple of micro pullback candles here, just kind of building up this upper node. Could shift the POC to the upper node. So watch that like 900 to 95 area. Still rotating around this upper node. Like I said, if it keeps rotating here, you can shift that POC to that node around like 95. Which could be the first move to start preparing for a possible pushback to that gap. It's like best case scenario, the buyers could like shift the POC up, start to use it as support, and like slowly push towards that gap fill. But if you look at the full session here, this combines the holiday. If they keep protecting this upper area, it just looks like it's rotating. So it just wants to rotate back down to 64. So you really need to start seeing those bigger buyers come in and protect this like 900 area. Yeah, it's because they're completely different markets. MES and MES and ES are completely different markets. They're just kind of based on the same thing. Another lower high coming in here, trying to go back into that rotation. This is the problem that I just talked about with the higher time frame stuff. If they can't begin to find large buyers up here at that 900, it just looks like it wants to rotate, which goes right back down to 65, possibly even lower if it wants to continue that lowercase b. So we're seeing the problem here, the lack of buying on that 900. They're also obviously not shifting the POC up, so they're not protecting that upper node anymore. Still protecting VWAP, so you have like one of those half rotations where you're constantly failing the value high, but they're not allowing it to go all the way back down to the value low. They're bouncing it on the POC, they're bouncing it on VWAP. So buyers are not super weak. They're weak on the aggressive side. They're not too weak on the passive side, the limit side. It's hard, Brandon. I can't really recommend a plan because I have access to like the full platform. So you just have to see whichever plan has like what you're looking for. If you want to replicate my screen, you can do it with like, it's like the second plan, but the second plan I believe is the delayed one, where you can have all the charts and everything, but the data is like 10 minutes delayed or something like that, which is okay for like testing and all that stuff. But if you're live trading, then obviously you need the one that's live. So that would be the next tier up. The next tier up, you can also replicate the charts, but you have live data. Yeah, like I said, I've always had full access to the platform, so I can't really break down the different tiers too much. All right, guys, we're going to start closing up the stream here. I think we are pretty close to 100 likes. We need like 10 more likes. If you guys want to get that above 100, we can do a Apex account giveaway. Appreciate you guys all hanging out. If you guys are heading out, if you're not participating in the giveaway, enjoy the rest of your day. I will be streaming in Discord for the rest of the day. If you're not in Discord, I will see you guys tomorrow, same time as always. Be sure to hang on to your Apex receipts if you guys are buying any Apex accounts with their current sale. I believe it ends on Thursday. 80% off till Thursday, $35 resets, that sort of thing. Hang on to those receipts if you're using code BREW. We will be starting those raffles again. We're going to be doing our monthly raffles like we did last year. So how we do them is every time you guys use code BREW, if it's a 50K account, you get one raffle ticket. If it's 100K, you get 2 tickets, so on and so forth. So every 50K of the account size, you get a ticket. And then I just randomly pull winners. I do cash prizes on PayPal. And then I do Discord access for either 1 month or 3 months. We pull a couple of winners. We typically pull like 2 to 4 winners every month. So yeah, if you guys use code BREW, just be sure to hold on to those. I will start getting those from you guys next week. I typically get them from you guys the last week of the month, and I'll just have you guys send those over in an email. And that's all you have to do, basically. So use code Brew on Apex, hold on to the receipt, and I'll get those from you next week. Their current sale, like I said, ends on Thursday. So if you guys participate in that sale, just hold on to those. But all right, guys, we are above 100 likes. Let's go ahead and do a giveaway. Let me get that ready 1 second. Keep losing the damn screen. Okay, so same as always, pick a number 1 through 50. 1 through 50. If you guys tie, we'll do a tiebreaker, so don't worry about picking the same number as somebody else. Only pick one number. If you pick more than one, I'm just going to delete your messages. So don't waste your time. Yeah, 1 through 50, and then we'll do tiebreakers. I'll give you guys probably until like 30, 38, 37, 38. Okay, there's the POC shift we were talking about earlier. If it can hold above that node, you can begin pushing into that overnight high, possibly the gap. The aggressive buyers are extremely weak. Every time they get up here above 900, they start to fall off rapidly. But the limit buyers, the buyers protecting VWAP, the buyers protecting the pullbacks, they're doing really well. So you definitely want to be on the limit side if you are a buyer right now. You don't want to be aggressive. By the way, this giveaway is for a free account on Apex, any size. It's just going to give you a promo code, and you can sign up like you would normally, and then put the promo code in. It gives you a free account for 30 days, and then after 30 days, it starts charging you normally. So go back to the brew code if you don't pass the account in that first month. I recommend the Tradeovate accounts if you're not wanting to use charts like Addis. If you want just like a standard platform, you can use Tradeovate. If you want to use Addis or NinjaTrader, then you go with the Rhythmic accounts. As far as size goes, I would say 50K is still kind of the standard. But if you want a little bit more wiggle room, I'd say go a bit higher, maybe the 100s, maybe the 250s. But you're going to have to be trading a lot more size on those. But all right, guys, I'll give you like 30 more seconds, and we'll go ahead and pull it. Like I said, if you guys tie, we'll do a tiebreaker. Don't worry about it. If you do win, just remind me, and then I'll go double check, because I can see your chat history, so there's no way for you to really lie about it. But if you do win and I miss your number, just remind me. All right, good luck, guys. I'm going to pull it. It is 39. So far, not seeing a 39. I don't see a 39. If you typed 39, let me know. I'll double check your chat history. But I do not see one. All right, last chance. If you typed 39, let me know. I don't see one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull it again. It's 37 this time. We do have a 37. Do we have multiple 37s? So I see you, Tom. Another, actually, there's two Toms, funny enough. Okay, so Tom B. Oh, you guys are both Tom Bs. Oh my god. What is happening right now? There's a glitch in the Matrix right now. Both Tom Bs pick the same number. Is there anybody else at 37? Let me see. There's another 37, Mr. B. If your name is Tom, I swear to God. TV also has 37. Okay, so we have like a four-way tie. Is that it? Is there only four of you? We have two Toms, Mr. B, and TV. I think that's it. That is all I'm seeing. Okay. Okay, so you four, we're gonna do the same tiebreaker we always do. You guys pick a number between 1 and 10. I'm just gonna keep rolling it until one of you guys wins. And I'm gonna go off of who picked the number first. So Mr. B has 6, so you guys can't pick 6. TV has 4. And now we need the two Toms. 1 through 10, Tom. The other Tom B picked 7 first, so pick again, Branson. We have 6, 4, 7, and then whatever you pick. Okay, 6, 4, 7, and 3. 6, 4, 7, 3. Good luck. And it was 6. Mr. B. Mr. B is the winner. All right, Mr. B, here is my email. Send me an email. Just let me know, hey, I'm Mr. B. I won the raffle. I'll send you a random number on your email, and then just type that number in chat so I can confirm that it's you. By the way, guys, same exact thing I just said. The aggressive buyers are very weak. They tried to push up there. They failed instantly. And now we're going back to the limit buy side. So we'll see if the buyers are still protecting VWAP. You have one of those kind of half rotations right now where it's allowing the market to rotate the upper half, but it's not rotating the lower half. Let me know when you send the email. Sometimes it goes to spam. We'll see if they protect VWAP again here. If you guys are heading out, I appreciate you being here. If you guys enjoy the content, hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. I will be streaming same time tomorrow. If we hit 100 likes tomorrow, we'll do another giveaway as well. Like I said, there's 2 days left on that Apex sale. I don't think they'll extend it again because they already extended it. So if you guys do participate in that sale, just hold on to any of those receipts. If you use code BREW, I will start getting those from you guys on Monday. And then as long as you send them from that week, Monday through Friday, I'm going to pull the raffle that weekend. We'll talk about that more next week. I don't see your email, Mr. B, unless it went to spam. I got you, Mr. B. I'm going to send a random number now. There you go. Just type that random number in chat and you should be good to go. Gotcha, Mr. B. Okay, so now look out for a code from me. And like I said, just sign up for a Apex account the way you normally would. And then throw that code in the promo section. But alright guys, that is it for me. I will be streaming in Discord for the rest of the day. I'll see you guys there. If you guys are not in Discord, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, same time as always. Just be on the lookout for this rotation. If we blow through VWAP here, it's trying to rotate back down to like the low 70s, so like 72, 71, somewhere around there. But right now you have a bit of a half rotation where it just keeps failing VWAP. But alright guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.